This is Embiriosaurus rafi, a late Triassic dinosaur that's made quite a stir in the paleontology world. It's the oldest fossil found in Africa, and it was unearthed right here in Zimbabwe, literally the day I started writing the script for this video. And here's what its ancestors look like today, the helmeted guinea fowl. These particular modern-day dinosaurs are my mother-in-law's pets. These are basically little velociraptors that may have swapped their carnivorous tendencies for a more omnivorous diet, but don't let their semi-cute, docile, feathery appearance fool you. These vicious little gits know their ancestry and aren't about to let us humans forget that. Speaking of velociraptors, Jurassic Park is a film that I would have thought needed no introduction. It showcases what can go wrong when capitalism and greed mix to create a nightmare scenario where a tourist attraction becomes a death trap for the unfortunate folks trapped in it. It's a classic, but apparently some folks haven't seen it, or they just completely ignored the message, as there have been several attempts to see if the supposed science showcased could actually be used to bring dinosaurs back to modern society. Now, should such a theme park ever exist, then surely someone needs to supply all the dinosaurs, right? Well, that's where Tiny Epic Dinosaurs comes in. Tiny Epic Dinosaurs is a worker placement game designed by Scott Almes and published by Gamelyn Games, where 1 to 4 ranchers compete to create and operate a dinosaur ranch. In Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, players will be trying to construct a secure ranch in which to place, feed, and breed a variety of dinosaurs to supply various contracts. They'll also be researching new dinosaurs and various technologies to assist with the process, carefully balancing the need to enclose and feed these creatures. Of course, nothing is ever that simple, and it's all too easy to slip up, letting dinosaurs escape, breaking barricades, or even eating each other. I'm a huge fan of the Tiny Epic series of games. The games themselves are all incredibly well designed, with gripping rules across a variety of themes and gaming genres. Each of them is a big box game experience crammed into a teeny tiny box that's stuffed to the lid with high quality components, which makes them perfect for our group. Remember, I have to ship my games from the UK, so size and weight are huge cost factors to us. Inside the box are literally hundreds of teeny tiny wooden screen-cut dinosaurs and other detailed components, from the ranches that you use to carry out various tasks to the meat, veg and crate markers used to track your resources. Even the turn marker is this tiny little coffee mug that says adorably, "I love dinos." The game board, if you can really use that term, is constructed from several sturdy cards that are double-sided to vary the game based on player count. There are stacks of small cards used for research and contracts, and finally, there's a small screen-printed dice for wrangling. Now, Gamelyn Games do also sell a neoprene playmat for Tiny Epic Dinosaurs that you can roll out across a table and put the cards on. Certainly it makes things look a little bit nicer, and if you're using a particularly rough surface for a table, it can help protect the cards, but I don't have one, and honestly, it adds a little bit of extra size and setup to what is otherwise quite a small, compact experience. The fact that all of this game fits in such a small box is nothing short of miraculous, but we did pick up a little plastic insert from a German company called Feldherr that I'll link in the description below. This is really useful. It helps organise all of the dinosaurs so that they're quick and easy to access whilst we're playing the game, and it massively speeds up both the setup and teardown at the start and the end of the game. Honestly, you can live without it. I just find this really makes all the difference when there are so many pieces. Setup is pretty easy. You set out the board depending on the number of players, hand each player a ranch card and a player card, along with a set of tracking pieces and a matching set of workers. Each player is given a secret private contract and a small starting amount of resources based on who the first player is. Then the game starts. At the start of each round, each ranch generates resources based on the number of resource icons still visible. Here you can see that the ranch naturally generates 1 supply crate, 3 meat, and 5 veg. As the game continues and players fill their ranch with dinosaurs, These icons will be blocked off, and so won't generate any resources. Players go around the table assigning ranches to various tasks. Sometimes you want to build some barriers to construct enclosures. Sometimes you need some extra food to ensure that all your hungry dinosaurs are fed. Sometimes you want to grab some extra research cards to help improve your abilities elsewhere. And sometimes you want to hand in a contract to get rid of some dinosaurs and earn some much vaulted victory points. Now, of course, you can't hand in a contract if you don't have the dinosaurs yet, so you'll need to wrangle some. On this card, you can spend resources to grab a specific dinosaur, or you can attempt to wrangle one. Wrangling doesn't use resources, but it does sometimes have some unexpected results based on this die. If it's a net, congratulations, you wrangled a dinosaur. If you roll an egg, congratulations again, you wrangled 2. Sometimes this can be awesome as it helps you get your ranch running quicker, but sometimes it's the absolute worst, especially if you're running low on food or space. Finally, if you roll the claw symbol, then the dinosaur and the rancher are moved to medical leave. We assume the poor guy got stepped on or something.
I am a Stegosaurus!
Medical leave isn't actually as bad as it sounds. You'll still get your rancher back at the end of the turn, and you still get the dinosaur. And there are some cards and abilities that actually trigger when your workers return from medical, but your worker is no longer blocking the wrangling space. In many worker placement games, when a worker is assigned to a task, that's it. Nobody else can do it. In Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, however, a blocked space can still be used, assuming the player who wants to use it assigns more ranchers. If there's one guy already on the task, other players who want to use it will have to assign 2 ranchers, the next person will need to assign 3, and so on. It's worth noting that your lead rancher, this big guy, counts as 2 ranchers for the purposes of assigning and blocking. He can be very useful in a pinch. Once all players have assigned their ranchers to tasks and collected the various cards, resources and dinos that they want, everyone collects up their ranchers and proceeds to arrange their ranch. When you look at the ranch card, you'll see it has water and it has mountains. These already provide natural barriers to enclose dinosaurs, but you'll undoubtedly need some barricades to finish the enclosures. Dinosaurs must have their own unique enclosure. You cannot put, say, an Allosaurus in with a Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus!
And you can't even put a Stegosaurus and a Brachiosaurus together. If you can't place a dinosaur into your ranch, then it escapes. And we'll talk more about escapes later on. Once all of your barriers and dinosaurs have been happily placed, players must feed all of their dinosaurs. Stegosaurus and Brachiosaurus eat 1 or 2 veg each, and Velociraptors and Allosaurus eat 2 or 1 meat respectively. Naturally, you must attempt to feed all of your dinosaurs, and if you can't feed one of them, then it also escapes. Finally, any fed dinosaur in an enclosure with another of the same type will breed. So these 2, having been fed, will breed a 3rd dinosaur. This doesn't have to be fed, but if you can't place it, it will escape. At this point, it should be pretty obvious that there are numerous ways for your dinosaurs to escape if you haven't planned carefully. Or if you're me and you've planned carefully, but this dice that absolutely hates me gets in the way, or someone else does something that messes with my plans, or my concept of a carefully laid plan isn't actually careful enough. Seriously, this game messes with me. If a dinosaur escapes, one of 2 things happen. If it was a carnivore, it eats one of your other dinosaurs on the way out. This sounds bad, but it can actually be useful if you need to thin the populations in your ranch. You can even use it to stop another dinosaur from escaping. If a herbivore escapes, it smashes down a barricade on the way out. Again, this sounds bad, but it won't necessarily screw you over. If you ended the arrange ranch phase with most of your dinosaurs enclosed, they won't escape if the barriers later break, but it may stop them breeding. I guess they don't like being watched. Each dinosaur escape penalty can only be applied once. So if you have an entire herd of Stegosaurus escape, you'll still only lose a single barrier. Then, if you can't feed a Brachiosaurus later and it escapes, it won't take another barrier with it. So it's not too bad. And that's basically it. You do that 5 more times for a total of 6 rounds, and then the game ends and you tally up your points. Now, during later turns, there are a few other things that may happen. Once you have a few dinosaurs in your ranch, you might be starting to eye up some of these contracts. If you have the right dinosaurs in your ranch, you can hand them in to complete a contract. And at this time, you may also play some dinosaurs from your ranch to complete the private contract that you were given earlier, but only if you're also completing the public contract. Now, this is where the real rub comes into the game. Naturally, you want to complete a contract as quickly as possible before some other greedy player snaps it up. You also probably want to thin your burgeoning ranch that is currently teetering on the threat of running out of food. But if you complete it too early, you're going to hand in all of your dinosaurs, have nothing left to breed, and then have to essentially restart your ranch from scratch. The true trick is finding the balancing point between those two extremes, getting a contract as quickly as possible, getting rid of some dinosaurs to stop you running out of food and resources, but having a few left over that you can continue to breed and work with. It's kind of got a bit of an engine building element to it, and I'm not normally a fan of engine building board games, but I really appreciate that little bit of it in Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. We touched on the research cards briefly earlier, but these are some of my favourite things in Tiny Epic Dinosaurs. Sometimes they're useful tools like a security force that can stop a dinosaur escaping, or stronger barriers that don't break if a dinosaur does escape. Sometimes they're endgame tools that give bonus points if certain conditions are met, but sometimes they're special, unique dinosaurs with really cool abilities. The Triceratops, for example, may take a lot of veg to feed, but it scores additional points based on other dinosaurs around it. The Pterodactyl is cheap to feed, but it can be paid in meat to transfer dinosaurs from your holding area to the ranch so that you can hand them in for contracts the same turn that you wrangled them. And then there's everyone's favourite, the T-Rex. This beast requires 3 blasted meat to feed, but it's worth a good deal of points, and perhaps worryingly, you can feed spare dinosaurs to it instead, and actually earn some meat in the process. Grim, but efficient. These special dinosaurs don't even need to be properly enclosed, which is awesome, and there is tons of variety to keep you going. At the start of the 4th turn, you also gain an extra rancher and another private contract. This helps up the tension in those later rounds. Eventually, the 6th turn ends and players tally up their points based on their contracts, their research cards, and any dinosaurs left in the ranch at the end of the game. The player with the most points wins. It just constantly feels like you're on the verge of running out of something, whether it's the food or the barricades or the dinosaurs or whatever. You're always just on that edge. But play goes remarkably quickly around the table as well, which is something that is kind of a key unifying part of the Tiny Epic series. At no point does anyone ever feel like, well, I'm just going to sit back and wait for everyone else's turn. It goes quickly. You're keeping an eye on who's putting workers where on the different spaces in order to adapt your plans if someone happens to do something that's a little bit awkward. This happens astonishingly frequently, at least if you're me. There's also very little direct competition, other than maybe blocking a space where someone wants to go if they don't have enough workers to exceed your amount and go there too. Maybe you take the last barricade out of the box and thus leave someone else a little bit short, but there's nothing that's direct in conflict. There's no attacking other players, and even the penalties, as we've seen, are fairly mild and don't really screw you over all that much. For our group, that's a real benefit. We don't like anything that really has a lot of direct player conflict, where it feels like you can gang up or attack someone else, and there's literally none of that here. Now, in the deluxe edition, you also get the laboratory expansion. With this mini expansion, each of the task boards has a number of science tokens on it. If you place a worker on that card, you must take a token and then advance your microscope along the corresponding track accordingly. Eventually, this will occasionally earn you rewards. This could be additional resources or research cards. Sometimes it may be another dinosaur. Sometimes that's a dinosaur that you wanted. Sometimes it's a dinosaur you really didn't want, and now you have to enclose it, feed it, and If you only have the base version though, don't worry too much. Whilst our group has thoroughly enjoyed playing with the laboratory mini expansion, we played Tiny Epic Dinosaurs for a long time without it and loved the game. This just adds another micro layer to the game that players have to consider, but it is fairly unobtrusive. Playing with it's awesome, but the game doesn't lose much at all without it, and I'm sure there are folks out there who prefer just the base game. It's at this point that I ask the question, does Tiny Epic Galaxies join our crew, or do we...
It's Tiny Epic Dinosaurs.
Thank you. It's at this point in the video that I ask, does Tiny Epic Dinosaurs join our crew, or do we make it walk the plank? And this is an easy recommendation for us. Coming in such a small, lightweight box, it was really easy for us to ship out here. It's also dead simple for me to just slip it in a bag whenever we come out to Masuna or go travelling somewhere else. And that tiny box packs a massive game, packed to the lid with top quality components and fun. Sure, it doesn't have that whole Jurassic Park thing of the dinosaurs escape and eat everyone, but I kind of prefer it for that. Rather than it being this aggressive, tense experience, it's this chill, laid-back, pastoral game. It's more of a farming simulator with dinosaurs than anything else. So if you're looking for a chill tabletop experience, or something that comes in a small box that will just fill that little hole on your shelf, maybe you're looking for something dinosaur themed to feed that dinosaur hungry child that still lives inside all of us, Tiny Epic Dinosaurs might just be the game for you. Certainly it was the game for us. And if you do check out Tiny Epic Dinosaurs, or perhaps you've already played it, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear how you all got on with the game as well. While you're down there, hit that like button, and if you want to go the extra mile to help support content like this, you can head across to my Patreon at patreon.com/CaptainBenzie and pledge to support there. Every pledge, no matter how big or small, means the world to me, and it really does help me keep making content like this. So thank you all ever so much. I've been Captain Benzie, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.